Good evening, everyone. Listen, as you know, it is your maximizing coach, Deshawn Antoinette Booker, and I am super duper excited. I always am because what is today? Today is another exciting episode of the Yummy Cafe. That's right, the Yummy Cafe, YUM-ME. Your unlimited magnificence equals you and me. As you know, I've always say that I wanted to have a space where I could celebrate women entrepreneurs. You know what? Listen, I say it all the time and I love saying it. I've always had a drawn an attention to women who went after what they wanted no matter the cost. Even as a young girl, I would sit down and I was flipping through the magazines all the time. And I was so drawn to the women who were featured as entrepreneurs, as women in business. And I was just like, wow, how are they doing this? How do they do it? It was just something that I was always drawn to. I even would take out their pictures and put their pictures all around my room. When I went to college, true story, when I went to college, I had a wall full of women entrepreneurs as my wallpaper. I just wanted to be drenched and just saturated in that goodness and that motivation and inspiration. I just found it so impactful. And so I wanted to become one of those women myself. I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to make an impact. Well, that journey isn't always an easy one. We always see what has happened after the journey has been a little bit completed, right? Well, there's always some pain points along the way. I didn't know that right away, but you know what I realized? It was a part of the journey. And so I wanted to bring to my listeners, to my audience, the backstage pass of how does it happen behind the scenes? What is the intimate journey of all of our phenomenal women who are out there being barrier breakers? What does it look like when you take that one step and then another step? And then you continue to build your momentum until you are really creating your desired business. You're turning your passion into profit. You've turned your idea into an investment. How do you do that? And so I love this platform because it allows for me to interview women from all over the world. Listen, the woman I have to you bring you tonight, she is from Canada. She is amazing, but I'm going to get into that just a second, because all of these women have phenomenal stories and they're going to give you what I call diamonds for your destiny. We need to understand that, it didn't just show up overnight. Although we want it to, very badly. So I want to welcome you to the Yummy Cafe show this evening. Listen, ladies, go get your cup and your salsa, I always say, and have a nice seat here in the Yummy Cafe. We're going to really just dive in and allow you to know, how did she do it? What kept her going? If she did it, so can I. I am also Deshawn Antoinette Booker, your maximizing coach. I am the founder of Maximizing Your Magnificence. And what I do is I work with powerhouse women in realizing their full potential. I work with women in doing three things: always being intentional, living and working from a place of integrity so they can manifest increase in their lives. I am the creator of the Magnificence Formula. Now, this formula is designed in helping women achieve their highest potential so that they can also create their lifestyle of success and fulfillment and magnificence. And I do this with coaching women through elevated and optimized programs, systems, and courses. So that is who I am. And that is what I love to do. So tonight, I am bringing you this evening a phenomenal woman I'm just so excited about her story. She is just phenomenal. She bears it all. She's vulnerable, she's transparent, but she's a barrier breaker. Let's see who we're going to talk to tonight. So tonight I am bringing to you a phenomenal woman, Miss Dawn Sirdar. She was a food scientist. She went from that to being a homeschool instructor for her four children to an entrepreneur. Who knew the skills she gained through 20 years of homeschooling, home based businesses part-time jobs, and volunteer positions would add up to the experiences needed to be a successful real estate investor. Dawn is the co founder and managing partner of Abundant Homes. Don't you just love that name? Abundant Homes, with expert experiences in wholesales, fix and flip, creative solutions, single family, buy and hold, and joint ventures. She's also the managing partner of Abundanthood, which is where Abundant Homes meets community. Don't you love that? It's all about bringing it right back to your community, right? Listen, this woman, Dawn, is also writing a young adult learning fiction book, which will be published later this year. She also is the writer and the producer of Abundanthood magazine. Yes, she also coaches the Abundant Mind Mastermind and coaching. Yes, she also has the Abundanthood book group. Yes, she also is the managing property person of Abundant Homes for Property Solutions. I know you're saying, Deshaun, how is she finding time to come here? Well, because she has a gift, and the gift is in her teaching. The gift is in her realizing, she's going to tell you more about this, that it's all about mindset. This woman knows about mindset. She knows how to turn your visions into realities. And she started with, again, that step, that one step, and that one step. And she's going to tell you how she saw this vision with her husband and how they brought it to life so that everyone who's ever been afraid, including myself, of real estate, investment, well, should we be? No, we shouldn't. But Donna's going to talk us through that. Listen, she is a phenomenal woman and she comes all the way to us from Canada, honey. And I'm so excited to bring her into the space right now. Let's welcome Miss Dawn Sirdar. Yes, Dawn, hello. How are you?
Hi. I am just thrilled to be here with you, and I so appreciate you having me on your show. So, and
Listen,
yeah, I'm doing great.
I'm excited that you are here. We had a little, run through yesterday, right? I
Yeah.
said, Dawn, you have to say that. Make sure you say that. Make sure you share that. Oh my God, it was just phenomenal, because listen, the women that I bring to this platform are women who I know, Dawn, are going to really show up to support and serve, right? And you all speak from your heart. And that's what you do. You share the journey. And that's what it's all about. I have met women for over 20 years through coaching, through speaking, through teaching and facilitating. And they're always asking, Deshaun, how do you keep the momentum? How do you keep it going? Right, Don? They say we build, we get it going, and then life happens and something happens. Right? So, I have you and the other wonderful guests because you all know how to just share it where it sounds like, oh, is that it? Is that the secret sauce? If there was one, right? And so that's the journey that we're going to share this evening as Don speaks to you, and allow you into the backstage, of how her journey has begun and where she is today. So listen, Don, again, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and to be with us. You host so many things. You have your own groups, your own platforms, and I certainly appreciate you being here to be with us this evening. And so, as you know, in this platform, I utilize the conversation through what I call moments, right? And so there's a moment one that we're going to talk about, a moment two, and then a moment three. Because I really believe that things happen in moments, how those moments look like for us. So again, Don, I can talk all night, but it's all about you. I'm just excited and I'm so grateful that you're here. And so we're just going to jump right in. But first, I want the audience to know if you're watching live, you can go ahead and always put your comments in the chat. I will look at them and we'll have a conversation. We really invite you to do that. Also, if you're watching the replay, Make sure that you write in the comment section hashtag replay, and you can put your comments, your suggestions, your questions. If you have questions for our guest, I will make certain that she gets them and that she's able to respond, as well as myself. So again, don't think if you're just watching the replay, oh, they're not going to get back to me. No, we are, because this is an ongoing conversation. And so it isn't a monologue, it's a dialogue. And we're so excited that you're here with us this evening. Right, Don? So we're just going to jump right
Yes.
into it. Okay. Listen,
Awesome.
so Don, the first thing that I'm always wanting to know, because I'm just that girl and I'm nosy myself, right? So when we're talking about, give them first of all a little backdrop to Abundant Homes and Abundanthood, and how did that happen? What was your inception moment in becoming this businesswoman and an entrepreneur?
Well, a couple of things happened. Our kids grew up. Our oldest is 30, our youngest is 24, and so they were leaving home, but we were also caring for senior adults in our in our family. So I was doing a lot of that. So it was kind of like, do you get a job when you're taking people to appointments and not able to take that time off? So I didn't get a job right away. I was doing some home sales and stuff. And then my husband's job was becoming insecure. He had worked there for about almost 15 years.
Wow.
And the oil industry here in Edmonton area was going down. And so his company actually laid off, well, they went from 2,600 people down to 600 in his office.
Wow.
And so he didn't know from day to day if he would be walked out as others had been. And so he mentioned to friends of ours at church, he says, like, we got to do something different. And so they said, hey, come see what we're doing. And they were flipping a house at the time with a mentor. And so we went and saw, and we were like, wow, that seems like a good thing to do. That seems like a lot of fun. Um, don't we all think that when we watch
Right.
those shows? And so we decided to partner or to joint venture with them, and we had a line of credit from our personal property. So we decided to be the money lender for the property, but we didn't want just to be the money lender. We wanted to learn how to do it and be part of it and be 50-50 on it. And
Yes.
so we did both. So we dove in. We got a property that was a good flip. We decided to sweep the basement, and it
Mm.
took way longer than expected. We ran into some problems with plumbing. We ran into problems with contractors. We were all kind of new. I mean, we were very new at it. We didn't even think real estate investing was possible for us many years ago. And so we ended up, it took us almost a year to flip that property. And
Wow.
so we ended up losing money on that property. And, you know, that is sometimes, I guess, to be expected when you're new to something. So we lost money on it, and we decided to keep going. We decided, you know what? How bad can it be? We'll just keep going and we'll make our money back. And so it wasn't very long after we had a wholesale. We wholesaled the property, and we made up the exact amount that we had lost on that first
Wow. Wow.
deal. So I had been going to the meetups and learning more and just diving in, reading books and learning and learning and learning and getting an education in investing and making connections and networking with people. So I just continued on with that. And that was when we started. We did make a business, and our business was using our last name. And I thought, I want a name out there and a brand that has has some real meaning to other people, not just us. And so we went with Abundant Homes. We decided on Abundant Homes and Abundanthood because that's our neighborhood. And so we believe that everybody should have an abundant home, and that it doesn't matter what it looks like. It's how you feel about your home. And when you have a rental property, it's your home. And so you should feel abundant in your home. And so that's kind of the thing that we want to project with Abundanthood. And I just wanted to mention, so we incorporate, or we put our made our logo, and I wanted to do something. When we were looking at names, we were thinking about combining our names. My husband's name is Lawrence, and so I looked up the meaning of his name, and his name is from the laurel tree, and mine is the rising sun. So I was looking at laurels rising. And so our logo has the laurels going up, and then we have a neighborhood that has a rising sun, and so it's laurels rising, and that is around our names and the neighborhood. And so that's where we came up with that. I gave that information to my best friend from high school, who is an artist, and she drew it up and got it to where we loved it. So that was the beginning.
That is beautiful. Now, you didn't tell me that. I didn't know
I
that.
did not.
I like knowing that now. I like knowing it now. I love that it's organic, right? And it really is the authenticity behind it, the pureness behind it. So let me ask you this. In those years when you were saying yes to this idea, were you all seeing this at the time as something like a hobby, Dawn? Like, oh, we'll just do it for ourselves. When did it become a part of it being bigger than you? That is, now we're going to serve outward. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, the whole idea was to do real estate investing and make money fast, and that didn't happen. Um, and sometimes you have, like, you need to put yourself out there, and get to know people and to network. And so part of our community is so that people recognize our name and stuff like that. So that was part of it, is serving in a way that helps other people. And a lot of what we have done with some of our properties too is helping people out. So the creative strategies that we use have helped people to move from their home into their abundant home. So we've done some of that with creative strategies, and just helping people out that way. So it's you do help people. It's a win-win. It's always about the win-win. And so that's our philosophy as well, is like when you're negotiating on a house, and if it's not a win for us, then we just don't buy it, or don't deal on it. And if it's not a win for them, they don't sell it. So we work towards that type of outcome as a win-win.
So, okay. So I love that concept, that philosophy. When you started in that direction, then when for you did you begin to see or hear or know that you were going to step out a little bit further and began the magazine, and began the book club, and began the mastermind coaching? Take us through each of those. How did that become an extension of what you guys were already developing?
So part of when we chose Abundant Homes, part of it was so I could make a word with hood on the end, and to have it as our community. So that I heard that idea, and I thought, yeah, I want to do that as well. So then we actually joined a mastermind. It was a year-long mastermind, and it was to figure out what you really want. It was a lot of mindset. It was real estate training as well, and just figuring out what you really want, where you want to serve, what your why, and stuff like that. So I was always a writer, and I had a blog years ago, and I had another blog, and so I was working on different things for that. And during that, we had a retreat one in that mastermind, and it was a weekend retreat, and we had gone to the retreat, and I had done what we were supposed to do was a napkin presentation on the 7 profit centers of real estate investing. So that I showed that to a couple people, and they were just like so excited and like, oh, that's so amazing. And then there was somebody who had been in the mastermind before they showed up, and she brought her books with her, and she's like, oh yeah, this is what I did. And we heard her story, and I'm like, I'm going to write a book. Yeah. So that's where the book came from. The magazine, I joined. So this goes into the whole COVID thing, when we were sitting around home, not knowing what was going to happen back in 2020. Right. So I had been introduced to Desiree Dubois in California, and she was doing a coffee and conversations. So I was going to conversations, listening to her speakers, and it was right when everybody just started doing Zoom. And so people didn't know the buttons to push for Zoom. And I had learned which buttons to push on Zoom. So I'd be like, do this. You can do this. Oh, you can fix that this way. And so I was giving a lot of suggestions. And so Desiree asked me to join her Power of 7 as a Zoom support. And so she gifted that to me for being her Zoom support.
Wow.
And so I did that 2 times, like, and for those who don't know, that's 12 hours at least for 2 days in a row of actually doing stuff. And so it was intensive and exhausting, and it was like drinking from a fire hose. And but then you go to her mastermind after, and then there's like constant reminders, and so it's like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, and there's all of these ideas. And one of them is that Desiree puts out a magazine every month. Since then, I am her co-host for her Monday night Let's Talk Success things. So I'm her co-host for that through homework. And because she put out a magazine, and I like to write. There was years ago, I thought, when I was homeschooling, I'm going to write a book. Didn't do it. Years ago, when I would read the editorial page of a magazine, I'd be like, oh, I would love to be write the editorial article at the beginning of a magazine. So now I am.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, so yeah, she inspired me. So I am doing a magazine, and I had a virtual assistant for over a year to help me with that, and it is my daughter, but she is no longer my virtual assistant, and so she was formatting everything and doing that, and the Instagram, and got the things rolling. So when you're doing something, it's really hard to start. Yeah, it's hard. The learning curve is always difficult. And so for me, the learning curve was difficult on those things. And so she helped me through that part. The hard part for me with my magazine, and I think that this past month was the first time in the time that I've been doing it, which is just over a year, that I did not feel sick to my stomach hitting send.
Yes.
putting myself out there.
Yes.
And that resistance, that is difficult. It's like, oh,
Mm.
I'll write it, and then it's like, oh, and just feeling sick to my stomach when I have to send it, or like when I'd send it to my daughter,
Huh?
and then I would just like briefly browse through it, make sure she had the pages there, and then it's like, I'm not reading it. And
Like, no, no, no. Right.
yeah, no. Yeah. And it's, yeah, it's putting myself out there is a
Yes.
really difficult thing for me. And but I was consistent, and that was the thing.
That's it.
It's
I
something
love
that I have had really good feedback for. I had somebody last month say, I read every word you write. I've had
Oh,
somebody approach me at a meetup and say, thank you for sending that out. It's so valuable. And
yes.
so I am getting really good feedback, and I really appreciate that, and I really need that,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I feel like I'm just putting myself out there for and it's scary. It's scary to put yourself out there, and I have a lot more growth in that area to go
Yes,
in putting
yes.
myself out there.
Don, I'm so glad you said that. It is scary. And that's why I use this platform. So many people look at, what an entrepreneur, business person is producing. And then they go, oh, wow, look at them. They're just shining. And that's true. But when you're putting yourself out there, right? And you're just not quite sure if it's landing someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't
Or
know.
kind of hoping maybe it doesn't land, because then nobody will see it, and it
Yeah,
didn't happen.
right, right, right. Right, like I didn't do
There's
it.
no
It didn't,
proof.
right, it didn't go through, so nothing's wrong, right? But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
said something though that's really important. Here's a nugget that she just dropped you all. Consistency. You said it. You said, I've been consistent. You have to be consistent. And a lot of times when I'm coaching women, and I'm sure you've heard women say the same thing, they say, oh, well, the children got in the way, or life, or I'm moving, or I'm tired, or health, concerns or issues, or just things get in the way, which are a part of living, and we stop, we pump our brakes, and we're not consistent. But I also want those that are listening and watching us tonight to hear what Dawn also said. She said she always wanted to write. She was always a writer. You said you looked in the magazine and said, I want to be the person that writes the editorial. Listen, you own the magazine today. Right.
Yep.
Right. So all of those desires that we have from childhood, they're not there on an accident, right?
Mm-hmm.
We will give birth to them when it's time. And we go, oh my goodness, I thought of this years ago. I wanted to do this when I was younger. That seed was planted. That so
Mm-hmm.
so so I just want to say to you, you're on the right track. You know that you're on the right track, And yes, being vulnerable and having transparency, it's a tough cookie. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it's what we have to do so that we can support and serve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's how we support and
So
serve. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So I was going to talk about my mastermind group.
Yes.
So
Yes.
one of the things that I back last year in November, I read The Greatest Salesman in the World. And I had and I was reading Think and Grow Rich, and I thought, oh, this is so
Mm-hmm.
good, and like I need to share this. And so when I read this Greatest Salesman in the World, there's 10 scrolls in it, and I thought, what I want to do is read one scroll a month for
Yes.
10 months, and read books that go along with that. And why should I do that all alone?
That's right.
Because it's so valuable to do something, like to have an exercise of consistency that way, a habit of reading
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so I started the mastermind group. And so each month we started with in January with goals and vision and stuff like that. And we just did a few weeks of that. And then in February, we started with the scrolls. And the first scroll was about habits. And so everything in Abundanthood is connected. So all of our theme of our February Abundanthood magazine was about habits. We read the scroll every day for a month. We also read Indistractable. So that was the book that we read, and it's about habits and not being distracted. And so
Mm-hmm.
through the year, each month we changed to a new theme. And
Okay.
last year I read The Happiness Project. And so she has that broken up into the 12 months. And
Mm-hmm.
so each of those 12 months was the theme for the magazine.
Nice. Love that.
So I've written the magazine for 2 years now. I guess it'll be two
Awesome.
years at the end of this December. So this month's theme is the tenth scroll.
Mm-hmm.
So the 10th scroll is on faith, and it's
Mm.
about asking for guidance.
Yes.
And so that's what our theme is. And we are reading, because last month the theme was about uh, action. So we are reading Take the Stairs. And Take the Stairs actually has a faith chapter, but
Okay.
it also yeah, they mesh through that as well, and with the guidance and the actions. So we are finishing up the that, and then for December we're going to do a tiny little book called the War of Art, and it's about resistance by Stephen Pressfield.
Yes.
And I have read it a couple of times because
Mm-hmm.
I need that a lot, because that
Mm-hmm.
whole feeling in my stomach about not putting myself out there, and my
Yes.
resistance to all of that is I yeah, the resistance is you study what you need, and you
Uh-huh.
can teach that because you know what other people are going through. And so that is going to be a 3-week mastermind in December to get people in control of their resistance to start out 2022
I
with a
love
bang.
it. I love
Yeah.
that. Wow, beautiful. I love the cross referencing, and allowing yourself to also know what your needs are as a woman in business, and then what that looks like for the community, your community. I want to let you know that Diane Carpenter says, "Great job, Don." And she says,
Mm.
"Don has always been so consistent." Thank you, Diane, for listening and being part of the show and the conversation. Thank you.
She has been my accountability partner for over
Oh,
3 years.
oh my goodness.
So we
Awesome.
talk to each other. We fill out a weekly planner every week, and it tells our wins and what we're going to do just for ourselves this week, and it tells what we're going to do in the coming week as far as our goals go. And we have grown a lot together. So I also want to acknowledge her for being there all the time for me.
Listen, listen. I hope that the listeners are, if you're listening live or watching the replay, Don is dropping so many diamonds for your destiny. Again, if you missed this, what she just said, accountability partner. She's not doing this alone. It is so important for women to know that we can ask questions, right, Don? That we should
Yeah.
have accountability partners. Sometimes we think that we should be on the island of isolation because we're
Mm-hmm.
afraid to ask someone, because then what would they think of me? How would I look? I'm supposed to know it all, and we've heard of that, and that's such a false perception of reality. It's an
Yeah.
untruth. And so
Yeah.
I love that you just said that is what you have in Diane. So ladies, if you're listening, and men, accountability partners are so important. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It means that you are courageously strong, and that you are going to set out to reach and accomplish your goals. And you have that person that says, wait a second. And that is all about that mindset. Moving into mindset, I want to talk now into our next movement, hurdles. Don, what were some of the hurdles that you talked about that beginning one with your husband and I when your first, investment. But what has been some other hurdles that have appeared to be barriers or blocks, blocking you from moving forward in your business, whether they were personal, professional? How did those hurdles look? How did you overcome them? Share with us some of what that looked like for you guys.
Well, I want to first say that sometimes hurdles look like speed bumps,
Wow.
or they just look like a bumpy road. And we don't recognize them as hurdles. And sometimes we don't even know that they're affecting us until until we overcome them, or until something changes. For me, COVID, of course, when you are the person that just goes out and puts a note on somebody's door and says, "Can I buy your house?" Well, that was not a thing when COVID hit. You're
Right.
not booting someone out of their house, or nobody's moving. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm writing my book and I'm doing this. And so I dove into that, and I dove into all the Zoom calls.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of people, I had Zoom burnout. I ended up with Zoom burnout, and so, but you still go to some of them, and you're still doing this and you're still doing that. And then in November of last year, so a year ago, my husband and I both got COVID.
Oh,
And
wow.
we did okay. Like, it was scary because you didn't know, and we were the first people that most of our friends knew who had got it, and we didn't know what was going to happen. You don't know the outcome until there's an outcome, and
Right.
um, and so it was a few weeks of feeling sick and hard breathing and stuff like that. But
Mm,
afterwards, we still struggled. And
yeah.
so our walks were very short, or, couldn't walk today, or we were tired, or there was this and that. At the same time, we lost an associate last November, um,
Oh,
from our community. And it was hard because he was our age, and it
yeah.
wasn't from COVID. It was just that we lost him. And so that kind of shakes you a little.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then in February, we still weren't doing, that great as far as exercise or anything. And we had a young family acquaintances. He was in a car accident, and he's still in recovery. And then in
Wow.
March, we lost a young family member to a vehicle accident. And then in April, another acquaintance, young guy in a vehicle accident. And then in June, we lost, or somebody we knew, an associate, lost their 4-year-old son.
Oh,
And so all of those losses
yeah.
were
So,
not directly, I mean, some were directly, but they weren't like, I didn't lose like my child, but they all have an impact. And
absolutely.
and you go through that time, not being the direct person, but
Yes.
feeling it, because and they were building up as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in February, we I was reading, or no, in March, I was reading the scroll Mark 2, and in there it said, welcome I will welcome happiness, for it opens my heart, and
Beautiful.
I will endure sadness, for it opens my soul.
Yes.
And so sometimes it was just a matter of sitting with the sadness and just knowing that it's opening your soul, and that
Mm.
has some goodness to it. And so we got through all of that. For myself, I was exercising less and less. I still went and played pickleball in the summer, but I was just exercising less.
Yes. Yes.
And so in September of 3 months ago, I started back at the gym, and then I started running. And I noticed a big difference in how I felt. And it took a while because, of course, the first day it was just like, I'm so sore. But it took, yeah, that was a hard day, that the day after. But just going through all of that, it was like a bumpy road that was pulling me down, and I didn't even realize how
Yeah.
far down I was going, and how it was affecting my ability to go out and do what I needed to do as
Yeah.
far as some things. I remained consistent at my magazine, the
Mm,
reading,
good.
all of those things that I had set up. I remained consistent at them. But it was hard. It was very hard.
Right.
But I did it. And then once I started exercising again, it started becoming easier, and it became easier when things opened up a little bit in the summer, and you could go out and see people and talk to people,
Mm-hmm.
because I prefer to talk to people face to face, rather than
Yeah.
just like in a group, like a huge group or whatever, on the meetups where they just talk to you about the real estate. I like to go and network. That is one of the things that I really love to do, is network. So
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, so that was a hurdle, and we got
Yeah.
through it. And with exercise, I'm feeling a lot better, and things are happening now.
That's
So
right. That's right.
yeah,
I like that. Listen, I love that, and my heart goes out to you, and my condolences for every single loss that you mentioned. And I love that, even in the loss and the sadness, it opens up, our souls, to endure. So thank you for sharing that. And again, it allows, others that are listening, that are watching with us live or the replay, when life happens, how do we not ignore it, is what I'm hearing you say. But
yeah,
we have to see that it was happening, but you still said, well, I have something that I'm still offering. I turn into myself. What is my service? Although I'm acknowledging what's happening, I still have service. I'm still called
hmm
to service. And so it's always bigger than us, it just always is. And so I love hearing that. We're going to move to our next moment, right? So, when did everything from the inception of abundant, homes and abundanthood and everything that's been an extension from this, how did it become the moment for you when you said, this is my worthy moment? Like, we're in this space. This is the space we're supposed to be in this season of our lives. This is what we're supposed to be doing. How did that show up for you guys, Don? What happened? What happened?
Well, I don't know. I think I'm still working on that, but um, it's a work in progress. There are moments when I tie all of my themes together, and serve people in pulling all of those things together, and
Mm,
relating them to what is going on in my life. I I believe that is it inspires people in different ways, um, and I I have to believe in what I'm doing. Like,
yeah.
when I homeschooled our kids, uh, when I started, people were still saying, "Is that legal?" It was in
Oh,
the 90s, and people were asking me, "Oh, you can do that. What about socialization? What about this? Are they going to
right.
learn about the internet?" And that was from family members.
Mm,
And
yeah.
they were like, "Well, what if something happens to you and they have to go back to school or whatever?" And I had to have faith. And
That's
this goes back to our chapter. You have to have faith in what you're doing,
yes.
and you might have to,
Mm,
take a step sideways and then keep going.
mm,
You might have to go over a speed bump or a hurdle, but you have to believe in what it where you're going.
yeah.
And that, I guess, is for me, the most important thing, when we homeschooled and people were asking those questions, it was like they were putting doubt in my head. And I was just hoping that I didn't mess them up so much that they would need to, have too much counseling. But they make good enough money; they can get their own
Right.
counseling now. So,
Right. Right.
but that was, and also just having faith that when I had two of them didn't read until they were over 10 years old.
Wow.
And
Really?
yeah, and just have the faith that they will read in their own time, and
Yes.
that it's not about pushing them. It's when they're ready, they will read. And that was hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was really difficult to know that other people's kids were reading. And I mean, I have 4 of them, so 2 of them were fine, and the other 2, well, they
Yeah.
are also fine. They read, they read a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them read War and Peace as a
Wow.
teenager.
Wow.
So yeah, so it wasn't, and I believed the reason I didn't push the reading was I believed that if they learned to read when they were ready, they would love to read. And both, like all of them, well, both of those ones love to read. And actually, the one that read earliest and read the most as a young child actually needs to listen to audiobooks now. So, yeah, because of concentration spans
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatever, like there's
Yes.
reasons, right? And
Mm-hmm. There's
so,
reasons.
there is no telling, like, when they're that age. So for me, it's the same with my business. Like
Yeah.
I have to have faith that I'm going in the right direction,
Mm.
that opportunities will present when I'm ready for them, and I need to grow and be ready for those opportunities. And I
Love
need to look broader than
Yes.
just, there's a point
Yeah.
of focus and where
Yeah.
you focus on your goal and where you're going, but there's the peripheral vision of the opportunities. And if you are just too focused on the one goal, then those opportunities can pass you by. So
Absolutely.
it's kind of a balance between
Yeah.
trying to have the opportunities that are kind of out there and bigger than yourself, and focusing on an opportunity that might be just too small for you.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yes. Oh, this is good. This is good. When we're talking about possibilities, and we talked a little bit about that yesterday, and you said you must have faith.
Yeah.
And sometimes we want faith to be a convenience for us. Ooh, I know I've been there, right? It's like I have faith when things are going okay, when it isn't a speed bump, right? And then when there are speed bumps and detours and potholes, we go, oh, is where I'm supposed to use my faith, or this is when I'm going? And it's like, yes. So you're right to even say that the hurdles, come, but when you're feeling worthy, you have to feel that worthiness, even if you cannot see it, taste it, smell
Yeah.
it, touch it, right? It's still
Yeah.
that this is me knowing that when I wake up in the day, that this is what my calling is in this moment. This is what my purpose is. And it's worthy of my living in this moment. And you have to have faith to believe that, that you're in
Yeah.
the right space. I love how you said you may not see the possibilities here because we get too tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
We're staying there. And that could be really what I also like to call our comfort zone. I'm in my
Yeah.
comfort zone. If I see something outside of that, that's going to stretch me. And do I want to get stretched? Right?
That's where resistance comes in.
Ah, right, right.
That's where being nervous about being on your show comes in.
And look at what's happening, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just it's happening. It is happening. It is
Yeah.
transforming. It's transformational. It is the gift that we give to others and we get back and we go, wow, I showed up, and you're right, that resistance. And so
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't go away, right, Don, as a businesswoman, entrepreneur.
No.
It's just how we handle it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like going, you just go for it anyway,
Just go.
and you just push forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's look. We got to wrap it up in just a moment, but
Yeah.
let's get through. I love this. Your words. I always ask the guests, what are your three journey words? What words have brought you and continue to move you to where you are, and what do they mean to you? So, Don, can we get a backstage pass into growth, balance, and receive?
Well, growth has always been a thing. So I've always been trying new things and doing new things, and uh, experimenting and with, gardening and baking and like whatever. I painting, art, writing, all sorts of stuff. So, and I have been reading mindset books since I was a teenager.
Mm.
My mom read them. My mom's watching. Hi, mom. And and but yeah, my mom read them, and those were the books that I read as a teenager. And so growth has, it's always been there. That's the type of book that I like to read. Um, with balance is when I didn't go back to or get a job per se and started on this journey. Part of it was to have the balance to be able to be available for our kids and our grandkids.
Yes.
So I have been able to babysit, and one of the things that has come up, like, because I'm doing all of these things, is to be available. And that's one of the things. So on Monday, I was able to babysit for a couple of hours our youngest grandson, and I just made that time because that's important.
Mhm.
And the receive is something what we touched on earlier, where we don't do it alone. And
Yeah.
I have always been really independent, and I'm going to do this, and how hard can it be, and I'm going to get it done, and
Mhm.
and I'm going to do it, and not ask any questions, and I look stupid, and all of that stuff, and not being able to receive from others. And so just learning how to have that, to receive from others.
Yeah.
When we were not well, we had people dropping stuff off for us and offering and stuff, and just knowing, like, I don't have to pay everybody back. And I've done so many I've done so much volunteer work over the years.
Mm.
It also comes to receiving payment for my services,
Yes, that's
for
right.
my mastermind, and
Right.
being, having that worthy, like, back to the worthiness, is I have something to offer
That's right.
that that is worthy of pay,
Yes.
and I shouldn't be giving all of it for free. And I have been giving freely of myself for so many years. And
Mhm.
so receive, that's where that comes
I love that.
in, is to
Mhm.
receive money from other people, to receive help
Mhm.
from other people.
Yes.
And so that's where that comes from.
Beautifully said. oh, you know what? I'm going to take it. I'm going to use it. I'm going to give you credit, Don. But, as women entrepreneurs, as women, that is one of our biggest barriers, right? Blockages is that we're not feeling worthy to receive, help, assistance, and payment for our gifts, for our
Yeah.
expertise. I hear it all the time. I too, went through that. And so you said that so eloquently. I'm so glad that that's one of your words. I'm going to steal exactly what you said, that we open ourselves to receive. And that's such a beautiful thing. And we've been told for so long, oh, don't do that, or who do you think you are? Or no, you don't want people to think badly of you. All of those false perceptions that we hear, and then they register and they get into our consciousness. And then we make actions based on that, and we keep
Yeah.
ourselves small and limited. But what you're saying is no, do the opposite of that. And I
Yeah.
love hearing that. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, on that note, one of the things I didn't touch on earlier was
Hmm.
about my pen pal. And
Yeah.
I am putting that into the world because I want to receive richly on that. And so I I have had a pen pal for 49 years this month. And next year, she and I will have been writing for 50 years. We
Wow.
started writing when
Wow.
I was 9 and she was 8. She lives in Australia, and I am going to, I don't know how, but my husband and I are going to Australia next year to celebrate 50 years. And so I'm putting it out there because it's an amazing story.
Yes.
Um, we back to the writing thing. We wrote each other 20-page letters when we were
Mm,
young,
beautiful.
and we told each other all our secrets. And so um, we've met 3 times, and but that is one of the things that I want to have a celebration when I'm in Australia,
Yes.
and I I want I'm putting it out there because that's part of my receive, and
That's
that's part
good.
of my putting myself out there.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Don, you just so beautiful. I stand with you. I hold that space for you sincerely. What a beautiful story, and yes, it's already done. It's already manifested. So we're just going to hear the good news from that, right? We're going to
Yeah.
celebrate the journey of that. Thank you for sharing that. So before we get through anything, I want you to let us know, is there anything you want to tell before I give everyone how to contact you? Is there anything up and coming that you want them to know about that you're doing? Your book, how when is that going to be out for sale, or anything that you're doing or sharing products, services? This is where you get to say it all.
Okay, so I have my mastermind in December coming up, 3 weeks. So you can contact me about that. And that one's on resistance. And you can subscribe to my magazine. And let's see what else. I also am a distributor for Sweet Sheets because an abundant home starts with abundant sleep and abundant sheets. And so you can find that at abundantdawn.sweetsheets.com.
I
Or,
love
yeah,
it.
that's it. Abundant Dawn. Yeah. So you have an abundant morning when you have a good sleep.
I love
And
it.
so, yeah.
So here's the
Yeah.
website. Everyone, if you're watching and you need to write that down, there's the website there for you to get in contact with Ms. Dawn. Also, her email address, right? We want to make certain that if you're interested in her awesome mastermind, in the book club, in any of her coaching, in all of her services, you can email her here as well. She's also on Facebook, right? At
Yeah.
Abundanthood. So you
Yeah.
can go ahead. Is that right, Don?
Yeah, that's Instagram at Abundanthood, and that's our Facebook group. So that would be the book group is at Abundanthood on Facebook. So you can find me there or under my name.
Awesome. Awesome. And then there's the
Yeah.
Instagram. And then she's also on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
And so, listen, we want to make certain that no one misses out and how they can get to you. Before we leave, this was just an evening, a conversation full of abundance. It's just overflowing. And I'm so grateful that you did not let any fear or anything hold you back. I mean, this was your platform and it was just amazing. It was just full of content and energy and direction, which is what, women need, right? And men too. And when they are pursuing their goals and their dreams and their purpose, we need to know, how do we continue to live that in abundance, right? How do we do that? And so I know I had Dawn to share her 3 journey words, but this question I'm asking Dawn is, what are you, and you may have said them, so you can say it again, but in your life, what has been what you would identify or called as your pillars of strength? What has kept you going when you didn't think you can go any further?
So family would be one. Obviously, I focused a lot on that as my kids were growing up, and that is important now with grandchildren. Another one would be health. So you don't miss it until you don't have it, and certainly we went through that. And as you age, you feel that more. And
Mm.
so I want to be the cool grandma that snowboards with her grandchildren. So I did learn how to snowboard a few years
Oh,
back.
okay, okay.
Yes, and but yeah, exercise is really sleep and exercise, and so that is a pillar. And so I said family and exercise and networking. I
Mhm.
networking, and I connect dots. So when somebody says, oh, I need this, my brain is just spinning, and I am finding
Connected.
somebody who fills that spot or something that fills that spot. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I am big on solutions and connecting dots and connecting people, and I'm a connector. And
I love
so
it.
that is another pillar and something that I love to do.
Beautiful. Family, exercise, and networking. Listen, Don, how did you enjoy our conversation here on the Yummy
I
Cafe?
loved it. I loved it.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it
It
fun,
is.
right?
Yes.
My goodness. Listen, we're going to bring you back. You got to come back. You know what? Thank you for saying yes to the invitation. I reach out to you and I'm like, Don, you got to come. You got to get over here. You got to share this journey and this story. And I just thank you for your transparency. I thank you for your vulnerability. I thank you for your faith, for your expertise, and your willingness to share your juicy nuggets with us and your backstage pass so that we know, hey, it's just a speed bump, she said, you guys, right? It's just that speed bump, and you got to be consistent. You got to have an accountability partner. You got to have that faith, even if you're thinking it's not. Listen, I got all of the information you said down. I'm writing notes. I know what you said. So listen, everyone, if you're watching us and we're right at the end, thank you for joining us. Go back and watch this entire show. It is phenomenal. Miss Dawn Sirdar gave so many good nuggets and diamonds for your destiny. I mean, you would go out and start a business tomorrow after listening to her. You just are. So make sure you watch this entire show. If you're watching the replay, please, you can go ahead and say, hashtag replay. And if you have a question, we'll get to you. Hey, Tiffany Lauderdale. She said, awesome takeaways, honey. Yes, Don is not playing with us this evening. See, Don, you're just doing your rocking and rolling. You're just busting down the barriers. So that's what we do here on the Yummy Cafe. So listen, everyone, we want to wish you a good holiday, a good Thanksgiving, which is just next week, right? So be blessed out there, no matter what you're doing. If you're staying home, if you're getting together with family members, large or small, intimate, it doesn't matter. Stay safe and continue to be in this season of grace and gratitude, right? That's what we want to offer you this evening. And thank you for being part of our conversation. And as I always say, I want you to live your life magnified. Don, do you have any parting words before we close it out? Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I just want to say thank you for this opportunity and for inviting me and for being such a wonderful host.
Oh, thank you. I do it with you all. It's synergy happening. It's synergy all the way. It's phenomenal. So listen, we thank you all for being with us today. Thank Diane says great show. And Diane, thank you for being a great accountability partner. Woo woo! And I hold a space for you, Diane, for what you're flourishing in as well. So until next time, everyone, I will see you next time on next month. As always, I miss you already. And I'm just that girl that just loves knowing about the backstage pass of beautiful women entrepreneurs. And as always, live your life magnified. And as I say, smooches and deuces. And we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.